Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Today, a woman in Texas was arrested for allegedly threatening the federal judge overseeing the 2020 election case against Trump. Abigail Jo Schrei called Judge Tanya Chutkan, a woman of Jamaican descent, a stupid slave, repeatedly threatening to kill Judge Chutkan. You are in our sights. We want to kill you. If Trump doesn't get elected in 2024, we are coming to kill you, so tread lightly. She ended that statement with a word that rhymes with witch. She also used that word that rhymes with rigor. This comes days after the FBI fatally shot a Utah man who was threatening to kill both President Biden and Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg.
Her name is Schrei? Her name is Schrei? It's German for three. She needs a vowel movement is what it is. That's her problem. That's what's going on with that woman there in Texas. 43 years old. She's already ruined her life. 43 years old, and she's actually calling the chamber of a judge and threatening to kill her. Threatening to kill her at the behest of her dear leader, the criminal Donald Trump. I honestly, I don't understand how people get sucked into his, his criminal enterprise, thinking something good is going to happen to them for doing it. I don't understand what this is. I'm not really clear about any of what she. But let's just look at her message, and then maybe you'll get an idea of how dumb you'd have to be to do something like this. First of all, she says to Judge Chutkan, who is of Jamaican descent, she calls her a stupid slave, but the woman lives in Texas. And if I'm correct, Texas, Florida, and Arkansas all think that slavery was some sort of a jobs program. So why I don't even know. Why do you think she's stupid? She was, she benefited from slavery. Don't you believe that? Isn't that your thing? Isn't that where you go when you, in your feeble little mind? And then, she announces like the entire Trump strategy for the next election, right? In 2024. In case you were wondering what it is, first of all, this is the campaign. I keep telling you, this is it. The campaign is going to be nothing but waiting for trials to start, waiting for jury selection, waiting for, rulings on whether or not there'll be cameras in the courtroom in Georgia, waiting for, the conflicts in trial dates to be sorted out, to see which trial goes first out of the four, right? I mean, this is the campaign for 2024. Now, the strategy is going to be something like, nice family you got. I'm going to kill them if we lose. That's the strategy, because that's what she wrote, and that's what Donald Trump is tweeting. Now, what's really unbelievable and fascinating in our, two-tiered justice system where Donald Trump is totally treated so poorly and everyone else is treated really well. This woman, this 43-year-old girl from Texas, she's in jail. She was arrested, and she's still in custody, and she will be in custody because she's threatened people prior to this threat. And so they've said, hey, you're going to stay in jail for a little while. We want to, quote, reasonably assure the safety of any other person in the community. So Miss Schrei is to remain in custody for the next 30 days. She's also been charged 4 separate times in the past year for, quote, engaging in similar conduct, including 2 counts for which she was sentenced to 30 days in prison. Now, if Donald Trump is treated so poorly and everybody else is treated so well, why is she in jail for threatening a judge's life and Donald Trump is not? He just put out new videos just decimating, Jack Smith. I mean, he actually tweeted the other day, quote, if you go after me, I go after you. And he's not in jail. And everybody on the TV is sitting there going, aren't there any concrete rules for Donald Trump? And when will the judge actually say, okay, enough already with the threats of violence, enough already with the targeting of prosecutors, with the targeting of, and let me add this to the pile, okay, of things that Donald Trump's supporters at Donald Trump's behest have caused. So here's another story to set beside this one. You know about the guy in Utah. Okay, we know about him, right? He actually, was a 73-year-old codge. Okay, this is an Altacaca who decides he wants to go out and blaze a glory. He wants to go out on behalf of Donald Trump. He wants to, kill people for Donald Trump is what he wants to do, right? He's going to kill Joe Biden. And he's going to take out any FBI agents that try to prevent him from killing Joe Biden. So that guy's in jail. This woman here, she threatens, it's just freedom of speech according to the Republicans, but she's in jail because she repeatedly threatens people with death and with, going after them, right? And we don't consider threats free speech, except if Donald Trump does it. But okay. Now, here's another one. The names and the addresses of the Georgia grand jury members have been posted on some right-wing website, which nobody wants to, tell you which one it is. But they say it's a real fringy one, so I'm guessing it's like the Donald. But they don't want to tell you that. But it doesn't matter anymore whether they tell you or not because it's been reposted on TikTok, on Twitter, Twitter, X. X. Oh, my God. Yeah, it's been posted on all social media now. The names and the addresses of the grand jury members who indicted Donald Trump on, RICO charges. And, all these other people, too. And, and so now they're being attacked with violent rhetoric, too. So how much are we going to have to put up with? Because this is the campaign. You understand this. And the strategy, the slogan might as well be, when she tweets to Judge Chutkan, hey, you stupid slave. I mean, she said, quote, this is what she wrote, quote, if Trump doesn't get elected in 2024, we're coming to kill you. So tread lightly, bitch. You will be targeted personally, publicly, your family, all of it. The only thing that's missing from that is I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message. That's all that's missing. Because this is the campaign strategy. You better be afraid. It's like the Talking Tina episode on, the Twilight Zone. I'm Talking Tina, and you better like me. I mean, it's just so sick. And I don't know why we can't actually say, you are a dangerous freak. You're a dangerous man. You need to actually be gagged from posting crap and such on social media. I mean, try that one. And of course, he'll, violate it. And then, we're going to have to actually put him in jail. And people are sitting there going, well, do you know how violent it will get if they put him in custody? You know how violent it already is? And he's not in custody, okay? So now we're all being told, oh, well, we can't put him in jail because, it's his people will go crazy. And of course, he's exercising his free speech. But she's in jail. I want you to understand why she's in jail. Because free speech does not include death threats. Free speech does not include targeting prosecutors or grand jury members or any jury members or witness tampering or, lying under oath or doing anything. Free speech is not absolute. And the things that Donald Trump is tweeting and the videos he's putting up and the targeting of people who do nothing but, sit and decide what's allowed, what can come in and what can't evidence-wise, that somehow they need to die, they need to be targeted, they're out to get. I mean, it's so paranoid, it's so fantastical, and it's so violent. The threats of violence in our society now are through the roof because we elected the wrong person. I hate to even characterize him as a person, but we elected the wrong person. And we will be paying for this for quite some time. But why doesn't he ever have to pay for it? Witnesses' names and address are being disseminated on social media sites known for violence. And this is okay?
For launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Okay, so this is conservative, like really, really conservative Judge Michael Ludick, who actually advised Mike Pence that there was absolutely no role for him to play other than presiding officer. He had no decision-making ability. He had nothing to do with sending anything back to anywhere or doing anything except standing there, right? So Judge Michael Ludick was just interviewed on the PBS NewsHour. And what he said is absolutely something that we should all take to heart.
As of today, and for the past 2.5 years, since January 6, 2021, it has been the Republicans who have reprehensively failed us as Americans. On January 6, the former president and the Republican, his allies and supporters, declared war on American democracy.
How much responsibility does former President Trump himself bear for all this?
He bears disproportionate share of responsibility, if not the entire responsibility. The former president sought to overturn an American election, which he had lost fair and square. For 4 years, these claims by the former president and his Republican allies have corroded and corrupted American democracy and American elections. Vast, vast numbers of Americans, into the millions, today no longer believe in the elections in the United States of America. They no longer believe in the institutions of law and democracy in America, the very pillars of our foundation. And many of those people have begun even to question the Constitution of the United States.
That should be taken to heart. And you have to understand that just about every single witness against Donald Trump, every single person of a conservative conscience has spoken out about this exact moment that we're in and has told you he declared war on us, has told you that he is a person who has no regard for democracy. He has no regard for our institutions. He has no regard for our country. He has no regard for anything that Americans hold dear. Nothing at all. The only thing that he represents for them is a past to be violent, right? That's all he gives them. He gives them the ability to be as, fourth grade as they want to be. He gives them the ability to, call people names and not be shamed publicly for doing, fourth grade schoolyard crap. That's all that Donald Trump gives a very, immature population. The other people like this woman in Texas, when you read like her texts and her tweet and listen to the phone message that she left for Judge Chutkan, it's not just the slave reference, the racism, the ugliness of that characterization of a woman who is obviously, an amazing federal judge, right? It's not just the lack of care for a person of intellectual badassery, right? It's not just that. It's that she went so low, so unbelievably low, because that is what Donald Trump invokes in people. That's what he, encourages people to do, to be as low as the spit on the belly of a snake. But then when you combine that, which is just, offensive, with danger, with violence and violent threats, and then you hear the portion of the call where she says, during the call, she says that I will kill anyone who goes after former President Trump. I will kill Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, all Democrats in Washington, D.C., and all people of the LGBTQ community. Oh, that's a hell of a lot of ammo. I mean, that's going to cost her a pretty penny. She's going to take out all those. See, now you understand why they don't want any limitations on, large capacity magazines. She's got a lot of killing to do, right? But we need to understand that we are under siege. And while I will say that Judge Michael Ludick there is is blowing the clarion horn. He's actually making the clarion call there. He wants everybody to realize these are the sirens. Okay, Maui, the sirens didn't go off. People didn't know what to do. We're finding out now, just as an aside about Maui, that they didn't want to turn the sirens on because they thought, they thought that the sirens for people on Maui was a tsunami warning. People interpret the sirens as being something commensurate with a tsunami warning, and that people would run away from the ocean into the mountains. And that's where the fires were. So they didn't want people to run away from the ocean, so they decided not to fire those sirens off. I don't know if that's true. Nobody does at this point. They're still cleaning up what was incinerated, what used to be Lahaina, and it's now incinerated, right? So we don't know yet. But the reason why Michael Ludwig is speaking is because he is the siren, okay? He is setting off the signal. He is telling you, we're in trouble. We're in uncharted territory. This man and his sycophants, and he's careful to tell you that the amount of supporters that Donald Trump has is in the millions. Now, when you put it into percentages, obviously there's like so many more of us than there are of them. I mean, there's just no question about that, and I don't think that Donald Trump has a chance to become the next president of the United States of America in this country, because there are so many more of us than there are of people who want to do violence. But, there are millions of people who want to do violence. That's just a true thing. And the other thing is, you don't even need millions of people to do violence. You just need, the guy from Utah. You just need some 73-year-old, freak. You just need the guy, the guy in the Cesar Sayoc, right? The guy in Florida sent pipe bombs to people. Just took one guy. Just took one Trump supporter. So you don't need a whole lot, but we do have a whole lot. And I think that's what he's trying to say. And, Miles Taylor is telling you the same thing. Everyone who is a Republican who cares about the country's, let's say, continuation into the future, right? Who cares about our constitutional republic? Who cares about our representative democracy? Who cares about, living past the 46th president of the United States to have a 47th, a 48th, all the way up to 50, if if you can imagine, getting that far. They're all telling you the same thing. They're all telling you this man doesn't believe in anything you do. He doesn't believe in the rule of law, which is the foundation of this country. We're not ruled by men. We're ruled by law. And this man broke the law 91 times. He's got 91 felony indictments pending trial. Now, I'm not on the jury, so I don't have to presume him innocent. You're not on the jury. You don't either. He needs to be held pending trial. 91 counts. Here's this woman who sent this disgusting threat by phone, and she's in jail, but he's not. How is that right?
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
91 felony charges is 91 more charges than any former president has ever faced. And so we're already in uncharted territory times 91. And that's what's confounding, not just about this case, but the three that came before it, is we don't really have a playbook for how this plays out with an American president. And Donald Trump is going to try to use that to his legal advantage, but also to his political advantage. So he's going to try to convince the courts to give him special treatment because it's exceptional and it's historical precedent. And he's also going to try to convince voters in the GOP base and across the country that these are political charges and not based on fact. I think he's going to have a hard time doing that with the broader public, but so far it looks like that's resonating with Republican voters.
With Republican Trump supporters. I would just put it that way, Miles, because, Republicans are not all the same, just like Democrats aren't all the same, independents aren't all the same. But there are Trump supporters, the maggots, they are all the same. And they are willing to do, things for Donald Trump that, they used to call people terrorists for doing, right? Sending pipe bombs through the mail or, death threats to, people who serve as judges and, attacking institutions and on it goes. That used to be considered terrorist activity in our country. But now, no. Now it's, I'll kill you. If Donald Trump doesn't become the president in 2024, nice family you got, I will kill them. I mean, how twisted is this? How dangerous is this? And when is the court going to realize that Donald Trump is not special? Okay? And that if it's good enough for, that kind of a threat is good enough to put this girl in jail, then it's good enough to put Donald Trump in jail because he is doing nothing but threatening every single grand juror, every single witness, every single prosecutor, every single judge, except for, the one that he picked. But if she makes one bad ruling, then her head's on a pike too. You understand, Aileen Cannon, down here in Florida. So far, so good. She seems willing to, delay or defend or something, right? But God help her, and she knows it too. You don't get to be a judge and not know that Donald Trump put you there because he knew he was going to be tried because he took stuff from D.C. and stored it inappropriately and threw it around in Magaloco. And you know what I mean? So it's just so sick. But okay, let's take Donald Trump's attorney at his word, right? John Lauro, who did the full Ginsburg last weekend on all the 5, Sunday shows, told us that the hitch in the get-along, the hitch in the case, the problem with the case is proving Donald Trump knew Donald Trump was doing something corrupt. According to John Lauro, right, Donald Trump, in his heart of hearts, believed that he had won the election and that he was going to win the election and he was winning all along and that he was winning when he went to sleep and then he woke up at 3:00 in the morning and, he went out there and told the people we were winning. And in fact, we did win. Remember that? That was the beginning of the Stop the Steal effort. That was the beginning of the big lie. John Lauro wants you to believe that Donald Trump legitimately believed that he had won the election and that even though there had been 3 recounts in Georgia when he made that January 2nd call to Raffensperger and Kemp, right, when he called down there, and prior to that, he had called the inspector at, the Secretary of State's office, Raffensperger's inspector, who had also, looked at the election 3 separate times. They all said there was no fraud there that would change the result, right? But he kept on going. But John Lauro wants us to believe that he was sincere in his belief. You know what the problem there is? The problem there is who didn't get indicted. Right. The problem with this is that Roger Stone didn't get indicted. Jared Kushner didn't get indicted. Ivanka didn't get indicted. It's really interesting when you look at who did not get indicted and who did. Because the ones who didn't get indicted obviously offered something to keep themselves from being indicted, and likely it was the truth. One of the things we know about Roger Stone, and I don't know why this was such huge news yesterday, but it was. It was really, people were shocked and stunned to see Roger Stone on film before the election, giving instructions, actually dictating a letter to the state legislatures to not certify the election results unless Donald Trump won, because John Eastman's theory was going to be deployed. And that theory was the independent legislature theory, which we've been telling you about in Moore v. North Carolina, that case, which the Supreme Court rejected. But there was this theory that legislatures choose not only the manner in which we select our electors, meaning they've all chosen that we vote and that's how we do it, but that ex post facto, after it's all done and they've already chosen the manner, they can reverse the results. Now that's garbage in, garbage out. That's not true. It's demonstrably not true. But Roger Stone was filmed for 3 years by a Danish filmmaker, and that film has been released, and it's out there for anybody who wants to watch it. I mean, I've played you clips from it. I think I played you this one. This is when Roger Stone, and I alluded to it yesterday. I didn't play the clip. This is why I love that I have them. Okay, this clip is from Roger Stone standing in Miami ahead of the election, okay? And people on the street were asking him whether or not he thought Donald Trump would win. And he said, well, let's just hope that we're celebrating a victory, but it doesn't really matter if he wins or he doesn't win, because we're going to say he did. Because possession is 9/10 of the law, and so we're just going to create an environment in which people believe, no matter what the result, that we won.
Let's just hope we're celebrating. I really do suspect it'll still be up in the air. When that happens, the key thing to do is to claim victory. Possession is 9/10 of the law. No, we won. You. Sorry, over. We won. Yeah. You're wrong. You. ABC. I said the Lord, and let's get right to the violence. That's what I'm.
Okay, now leave that up for just a brief moment. Just leave that. Thank you. I mean, it's white. It's white Chiron on a beige ceiling, so it's hard to see. But it says from a storm foretold. A film by Christopher Guldbrandsen. He's a Danish filmmaker, and A Storm Foretold is out there. So I'm like stunned that yesterday on MSNBC, in an MSNBC exclusive, they showed another clip from this movie. They showed a clip of Roger Stone dictating to his secretary. I don't know who this guy is. Instructions to state legislatures in a letter that Roger Stone wanted to be sent to state legislators. It wasn't, but this was before the election was even held.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
All right, everybody. So this was on The Beat last night with Ari Melber, who I think is dreamy. Just saying. I just hope he's not, like a bad, colleague.
I just hope Sheldon's not listening. What the hell?
Well, Sheldon's my husband in heaven, but it doesn't mean I'm dead, okay, yet. So I still get to shop and look, But Ari, like if I was going to be a cougar, he'd be like my target. He'd be the guy. He'd be the one. He'd be, yeah. Something about him. I don't know. The music, I don't know. It's the moment. You own it. Whatever. It's Vivek. It's Vivek's fault. It's
giving me PTSD. Stop referring to it. I
Eminem?
can't even. Yeah.
Well, it's Vivek Ramaswamy. He has screwed up. Every good thing in the world about Eminem. He has just tainted it, ruined it. It's just it's horrible. Anyway, Ari had this exclusive on his show yesterday, and this is from the same guy's movie. This is from that same exact movie. This is A Storm Foretold by Christopher, I guess his name is Christopher Gundofs. He's Danish, right? And this movie has been out. I think it's on Netflix. I mean, I could get my platforms wrong, but I think it's on Netflix. Anyway, maybe this was an exclusive scene that Christopher actually shared with him. I don't know. But this is before the election. This is prior to anybody vote. Well, I shouldn't say that because some people did early vote. But this is November 5th, okay? So we don't know the result of the free and fair election in the United States. And yet, here is flat-headed Roger Stone. I don't know why his head is so flat. And I don't know what his tic is. I don't want to diagnose him with Tourette's, wrongfully, but oh my God. Anyway, he's dictating to his secretary or some such administrative, assistant, a letter to the state legislatures informing them of his view of their constitutional privilege to overturn the results of a free and fair election before the election is even counted. So there is no way that John Laurow's theory that Donald Trump believed that he was going to win and that he won is true. Because here they are plotting what to do when he loses because they knew he was going to lose. You know why? They had internal polling, and that told them he was not going to win. And so they started deploying alternative methods to retain the presidency, which is a rebellion, which is overthrowing the will of the American people. But that's what they were doing. This is, before the election was even counted.
Although state officials in all 50 states must ultimately certify the results of the voting in their state, the final decision as to who the state legislatures authorize be sent to the Electoral College is a decision made solely by the legislature. Any legislative body may decide on the basis of overwhelming evidence of fraud to send electors to the Electoral College who accurately reflect the president's legitimate victory in their state, which was illegally denied him through fraud. We must be prepared to lobby our Republican legislatures by personal contact and by demonstrating the overwhelming will of the people in their state, in each state, that this may need to happen.
That occurred and was caught on video November 5th, 2020. It is new to the world right now tonight. Stone dictated that extreme plan, as you saw there, to his associate on the computer. And it was not only earlier than some of those other Trump figures' plans I mentioned, some of which, of course, are now part of indictments and looming trials. Let me make a clear point about this exclusive here on The Beat tonight. That was before the presidential race had even been called for Biden.
He's so cute. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that was before the election had been called for Biden. This is just now. You know what's really interesting? So I guess this was a portion of the film that was not included in the film, and that's what made it an exclusive. Because Ari would never lie to me. He would not. I think he would rather hurt himself than hurt me. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just it's been a long hot summer here, but anyway, I digress. Roger Stone has mysteriously not been indicted. Don't you find that to be an interesting point? I find that completely fascinating because remember, Roger Stone was pardoned by Donald Trump for obstructing justice in the Mueller investigation, going way back to the Mueller investigation. You know how I remember this? I remember this because Randi Credico, do you remember Randi's name? Randi Credico is he's a friend of mine, not to this day, but back in the day, he was a friend of mine. We worked together at Air America. He's a stand-up comic, primarily does, great impressions. And he does a great Nixon, on and on. Anyway, Randi Credico and Roger Stone, some weird way became friends. And Roger Stone tried to blame Randi Credico and set Randi Credico up in the Mueller investigation as being the go-between between the Trump campaign and Julian Assange on the WikiLeaks timing of the document dumps. And Randi Credico did not do that, okay? Roger Stone did that. Roger Stone was the go-between between Julian Assange and the Trump campaign, and every time the news cycle would get bad for Trump, they'd release some more of the DNC emails. They would release some more of the risotto recipes, right? Whatever it was. But Roger Stone was the conduit between Julian and the Trump campaign, okay? And when it was time to investigate that, when the Mueller report was actually being investigated, Roger Stone set up Randi Credico and threatened to kill Randi Credico and his little dog. Do you remember that? His little white dog, okay? And Randi literally didn't know what to do with himself. He really honestly did not know what to do. Randi has had some, problems with substances, and he was trying to keep himself together. It was tragic. Anyway, Roger Stone was convicted of obstructing justice. It was found that Credico was telling the truth and that Roger was lying, and he was lying under oath and blah, blah, blah. Got 40 months. That's what Roger Stone was sentenced to. And Donald Trump pardoned him for that. Remember? While Roger Stone was waiting to be pardoned, Roger Stone was doing this. He should have been in jail when he was doing this. Well, now that he's done this, he could be indicted again, see? And he knew that. And on the way out, he asked Donald Trump for a pardon for this. And Donald Trump didn't give it to him. And according to the people who know Roger Stone is so pissed at Donald Trump for not pardoning him and for leaving him open now to a trial, to charges. So it's interesting to note that Roger Stone has not been indicted, and yet there's all this, film of Roger Stone doing illegal things. And still, to this minute, not included in any of these indictments. None of them. And there's 91 charges, 91 felonies. And none of them landed on him. Isn't that something? Isn't that special? Something tells me, I don't know, that what Roger Stone is really good at is taking care of Roger Stone. And what Roger Stone is really good at is keeping Roger Stone out of jail. And if Donald Trump sacrificed Roger Stone on the altar of, I'm not going to jail, I'm Donald Trump, you could go to jail, you're Roger Stone, then Roger Stone cooperated and is going to make sure that Donald Trump goes to jail. It's just interesting. And you know who knows stuff like this about the inside players? Michael Cohen, Randy Credico, some people say, a lot of people say that it's very interesting who wasn't indicted. Some people say that it's very interesting who didn't get pardoned and who might be going broke paying their legal bills. Some people say that it was a bad bet for Donald Trump not to pay Rudy Giuliani's legal bills. Some people say that. And a lot of people say that Roger Stone is flipped. I fingers crossed, everybody, fingers crossed, because this has been on tape for years.
Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created
equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
This is a ridiculous application of the racketeering statute. There's probably no one that knows it better than I do, probably some that know it as well. I was the first one to use it in white-collar cases. But in major cases like the Boesky case and the Milken case, this is not meant for election disputes. I mean, this is ridiculous what she's doing.
Andrew Weissman, your response to defendant Giuliani.
Rudy Giuliani, of all of the defendants, of the major names that we know about, I think is in the most legal peril. Not only is he on tape and there are credible witnesses and transcripts of his false statements to the Georgia legislature, not only is there his bad faith litigation in Pennsylvania, as found by the disciplinary committee in D.C., where they found that he did not have a basis to challenge the vote there. But you also have his conduct charged here with respect to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss. And so there's not only the sort of high end, what he was doing to the democracy writ large, but the real consequences and, in my view, racist conduct on his part with respect to those two women. And to make it an even stronger case, in the civil lawsuit in D.C. before the former Chief Judge Beryl Howell, Rudy Giuliani has essentially admitted and is not challenging the allegations there. So there will be an effort to use that in this case. So he is facing incredibly strong charges, and he cannot be federally pardoned for these state charges. And I think, as you mentioned, he is relatively old, and he is going to be without a lot of money because he is being sued by Dominion. He's being sued by Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, as well he should be. And he's already been sanctioned by Beryl Howell in that case. So he is really facing significant legal peril.
And according to the newspapers in New York, Rudy Giuliani has put his $6.5 million apartment up for sale to pay for his legal fees, and Donald Trump isn't going to help him. I don't know. I don't know what it's between the brothers, Kay. I honestly don't know what's going on there. But Rudy is in deep doo-doo. Rudy is in so much dung. I mean, he's just, and it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. You know, for those of you who are like loyal clients of the Randi Rhodes Show, you know that you are, amazing listeners of mine. You remember, don't ya? You remember way, way back in the day, okay, when it was Hillary Trump, right? 2016. And all of a sudden, 11 days before the election, James Comey is forced to say, oh, I told Congress that if I ever saw any new emails with regard to Hillary Clinton, that I would reopen the email investigation. Well, I just got this laptop. Isn't it interesting? They don't know very many tricks, these ponies. But this is like their favorite trick, the laptop, right? And so at that point, it was Anthony Weiner's laptop, not Hunter Biden's. Hard to believe that there was ever another laptop. Oh, yeah. But there was, right? And it was Anthony Weiner's, and Anthony Weiner turned out to be a dirtbag. And Anthony Weiner was literally texting and sending, messages and dick pics just of himself to, underage girls. Gross. Okay. The FBI seized his computer months before the election, and turns out that his wife, who was Hillary Clinton's closest aide for years and years, Huma Abedin, was married to Anthony Weiner, poor kid, okay? And she had emails between her and Hillary on Anthony's computer. And so the New York field office of the FBI got hold of that thing, because that's where they lived, in New York. And they sat on it. They sat on that computer. They did not do any forensics. They didn't do anything. They just knew that there were Hillary Clinton emails on it. They waited until 11 days before the election, and then they forked it over to FBI Maine, which is Comey in D.C., and they said, oh, here. This here is Anthony Weiner's computer. And you know what's on it? Emails. Emails between Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin. Yeah. And we didn't do any forensics on it. And so, good luck with that. Hope you can get it done before the election. And James Comey went before the American people and said, oh, my God, I promised Congress that I would reopen this investigation, which he had closed without any charges, because she had no intent to do anything criminal. Okay, she didn't disseminate any valuable secrets. She didn't, wave it around at Magaloco. She didn't say, look, this is the battle plan for Iran. See, this is what he did it. They did it. This is what they did. No, she didn't do any of that. And so Comey said, there was no charges that were forthcoming, and the case was closed. But if he got any new emails, he would reopen it. Suddenly, he gets new emails. Isn't that special? And Rudy Giuliani goes on Fox News and says there's going to be an October surprise. We've got some tricks up our sleeve. Remember that? So now the guy who was in charge of the New York field office's counterintelligence unit is a guy named McGonigal, who yesterday, I believe, pled guilty to charges that he was taking money, bribery, money that was being laundered through Cyprus bank accounts into his bank account from Paul Manafort's old boss, Oleg Deripaska, the Russian oligarch. Small world. That's all I'm saying. So ever since, Rudy Giuliani went on Fox News and said, we got some more tricks up our sleeves. There's going to be an October surprise. You just wait. You just wait. Remember that? And I have wanted to know what went on in that New York field office and why did they tell this to Rudy Giuliani? Why did they leak this information about Anthony Weiner's computer to Rudy? And how did he know? And why did he know that there were Hillary emails on it? And who did that? Well, I think I got my answer now. I don't know, but McGonigal entered into a plea deal, so I'll never know. And unless Rudy is willing to drop a dime on McGonigal, I don't think we'll ever know. However, Rudy knew. He knew. And this is what cost Hillary the election. And this is why Hillary was saying you could be ahead in the polls and you could be doing great and everything could be going your way and people could be lining up to vote for you and you could still have the election stolen from you because they stole it from her. They literally did. They stole it. They found themselves a Boy Scout in James Comey, and they went to him and they said, but you said under oath that if you found new email, and it turned out everything that was on that computer, copies. They had all been seen. They had all been gone through, and there was nothing new there, okay? But it was their tactic, and it freaking worked. It absolutely worked. And ever since that moment in time, I have wanted to see Rudy Giuliani pay because I knew he was dirty. And I understood that there was there was at least a person in the New York FBI field office who was also dirty. And this man just pleads guilty yesterday to not only being dirty, but being in the employ of a Russian oligarch to whom Paul Manafort owed millions of dollars. Oh, my God. I don't think Tom Clancy could have constructed a spy, novel any better than real life there. How sick and twisted. So, if Rudy is in the most trouble, I'm good with it. You good? Everybody good? Are we down?
I'm so good with it.
You're good? I'm good. I'm so good. But I need to see something. I need, it's amazing how easily the Republicans will throw around the lock her up thing. But in this particular case, the amount of rebellion, insurrection, subversion of our elections, the amount of, dirty politics, the receiving information from, Roger Stone and WikiLeaks and coordinating document dumps and, taking money from Russian oligarchs and then saying there was no collusion and making America believe that somehow Hillary was insane. Oh, my God.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
And I think he's got a surprise or two that you're going to hear about in the next 2 days.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking about some pretty big surprise.
Oh, yeah, I heard you say that this morning. What do you mean?
You'll see.
Stay tuned. Rudy Giuliani, you're lucky because we got to go. I'm out of time. Otherwise, I keep pressing you.
We're not going to go down. And we're certainly not going to stop fighting. We've got a couple things up our sleeve that should turn this around.
Turn this around.
In a way that even the liberal pollsters will get to see it.
Okay, so obviously they knew they were losing. That's October 26th of 2016. Okay, that was before the election. They knew they were losing. That's why Roger Stone is dictating letters to go to the state legislatures, telling them you don't have to certify the election when we lose. You could choose a new slate of electors. You can do it. Only the legislatures choose the electors. You know that. Don't give in. Don't stop fighting. We're going to deploy our troops and we're going to have them outside and they're all going to be, screaming and yelling and they're all going to be, pushing back. And they are so disgusting. And now they're saying, oh, but they believed in their heart of hearts. He believed in his heart of hearts. No, I mean, it's unbelievable. The October surprise in 2016 right there, they were losing then too. And if not for a dirty FBI counterintelligence officer giving Rudy Giuliani the info that they got Anthony Weiner's computer and they're going to dump it on Comey 11 days before the election. And there's so many emails on there that even if they just do a quick search to see if they're duplicates, it's going to take them more than 6 days to do it. And you'll be able to declare victory and say, see, we told you Hillary's dirty. There's more emails. She was hiding it and everything else. Now they're doing it with Hunter Biden. Okay. Everything was a laptop. It's always a laptop with them. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, they're so filthy dirty. And by the way, Rudy's been doing this forever. Okay. Rudy has been Rudy the whole time. And you know what? Chris Hayes did a beautiful report last night, and it jogged a lot of memories because, when I was growing up in New York, I wasn't really political. I was a child and all. And I remember we had a mayor. His name was Ed Koch, and everybody really liked him. And he used to always say, "How am I doing?" That was his whole thing, right? He'd get on TV and he'd announce, crime was down or taxes were down or, trains were running good, buses were adding lines, everybody will be able to, you'll have an express train and you'll have a local. It'll be so good for you. And then he would always say, "How am I doing?" And Rudy ran against Ed Koch. And Ed Koch was so freaking popular. And Rudy didn't know what to do about it. So you know what Rudy did? He was the U.S. attorney in New York at the time. Rudy actually weaponized law enforcement. Yeah, Rudy actually weaponized his office, okay? And started to use the RICO Act against Mayor Koch's administration. And went after almost everyone in Ed Koch's administration by saying that Ed Koch, the mayor, the very, very popular mayor of New York, was running a criminal enterprise out of the mayor's office. And Rudy couldn't, he couldn't convict Ed Koch, but he started picking off, peripheral people in the administration. And it was unbelievable. It was just the craziest thing you ever saw. And it's who he's always been. It's what he did.
In the final chapter of his life, Rudy Giuliani is the object of ridicule and scorn. He is reputationally and financially near bankruptcy. He is looking at the possibility of living out the rest of his days on this earth in prison.
Dang.
How did it happen? How did the once clean as a whistle crime fighter, the law and order man, America's mayor who led us through one of our darkest hours, how did he end up like this? What happened to Rudy? You hear that a lot. I would submit, if you take a closer look, there's a case to be made. Rudy has actually been this version of Rudy the whole time, or at least had it in him. I mean, in fact, Rudy himself made a pretty revealing statement to that effect last night when he emerged from his shame bunker to address the indictment.
This is a ridiculous application of the racketeering statute. There's probably no one that knows it better than I do, probably some that know it as well. I was the first one to use it in white-collar cases. But in major cases like the Boesky case and the Milken case, this is not meant for election disputes.
This is not an election
dispute. This is ridiculous what she's doing.
Now, credit overdue. Rudy is correct. He really did pioneer the use of racketeering laws, often shorthanded as RICO, to go after white-collar criminals. It was a sort of innovation of his, like Michael Milken, as he mentioned in that interview. He brought RICO charges against the mob, the 5 families in New York, helping to bring down, organized crime in New York. According to new reporting from The Messenger, wise guys are rejoicing in the wake of Giuliani's own RICO indictment. A veteran mob lawyer says his clients are, quote, effing thrilled. Giuliani also used the RICO laws to go after corruption in politics. And one of the ways that he kickstarted his own electoral career in the city of New York was turning his office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, attention to the Democratic political machine of the city, which he was, of course, going to run against in the race for mayor. In 1986, he took down Stanley Friedman on racketeering charges. That was a Democrat from the Bronx, one of New York's most powerful political figures, as the New York Times put it at the time. And by his own admission, Rudy used RICO laws against his political enemies, including the man whose job he wanted, Democratic Mayor Ed Koch.
The RICO statute, I was the first one to use the racketeering statute for public corruption. I did it against most of Ed Koch's administration. Well, Ed wasn't paying attention. Well, they were stealing millions.
Now think about this. The U.S. attorney who clearly wants political office in this city prosecuting the opposing party, right? Using the power to do that. You might uncharitably call that weaponizing the Justice Department for partisan political ends.
Yeah, you might, and it might feel very familiar to you. It might feel like something that Rudy does over and over and over again. It might feel like something Rudy did in 2016 to their benefit. Obviously, the idea that they were able to upend an election that they were indeed set to lose against Hillary Clinton by weaponizing the New York FBI, right? By remember James Kallstrom, all of them, Bernie Kerik, they were all, like stunned and praising Rudy, like, And obviously, they tried it again in 2020. Obviously, they keep trying to go after their political opponents using the awesome powers of the law. And they're going to do it again in 2024. Okay, this is all the Biden laptop crap. Anthony Weiner's laptop. Now just, take Weiner out, put Biden in. And, you got the same exact scenario. And people keep falling for it over and over and over and over since 1986. Man, they are one-trick ponies, but you people, you really don't know the one trick. So I thought you should know the one trick. And it's always weaponizing the law against your opponent. And they're doing it now.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Giuliani lost his first race for mayor of New York, but he succeeded the second time around after embracing some of the ugliest, most demagogic, racist politics that Donald Trump would later mine to great effect. In September of 1992, he rather infamously appeared at a police rally that turned into an all-out riot, and he refused to ever decry or denounce it. As mayor, Giuliani oversaw an incredible increase in the surveillance and policing of black and brown New Yorkers. In one notorious incident, he demonized an unarmed black man who was shot and killed by the police. Clearly, even his recent turn as a public face of, frankly, racist accusations of voter fraud is not really new.
Tape earlier in the day of Ruby Freeman and Shay Freeman Moss and one other gentleman quite obviously surreptitiously passing around USB ports as if they're vials of heroin or cocaine.
Oh, my God.
I mean, it's obvious to anyone who's a criminal investigator or prosecutor, they are engaged in surreptitious illegal activity, again, that day.
Now, that was false, and Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss have actually sued Rudy Giuliani for defamation. But that kind of rhetoric, talking about these two black women as being drug dealers, stealing an election, that goes way back to the 1989 race for mayor. The 1989 race for mayor, which Giuliani lost to the first black man elected mayor of New York, David Dinkins. As Giuliani himself told journalist Jack Newfield in an interview he quotes in his 2002 book, The Full Rudy. This is 21 years ago, and I'm quoting him here. They stole that election from me. They stole votes in the black parts of Brooklyn and in Washington Heights. Illegal Dominican immigrants were allowed to vote in Washington Heights.
He's insane.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound familiar. It sounds very familiar. Washington Heights is a Dominican neighborhood. It is. It always has been. It will always be a Dominican neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood. I wouldn't mind living up there. They got beautiful parks. But yeah, this is the racist crap that they peddle. This is Rudy. This is what Rudy offered to Donald Trump. This shameless, racist ploy, this investigate your opponent, campaign style, right? Where you use the power of law enforcement. You use the power of the U.S. Attorney's Office. You use prosecutorial power against your political opponents. This is who Rudy is. This is what Rudy does. And he did it in 2016 with the laptop, with the Anthony Weiner laptop, and he's doing it now with the, the election was stolen, crap after he lost. The only reason why we were spared this in 2016 is because Rudy's laptop ploy, which he is still responsible for with regard to Hunter Biden. Remember, he went to the, outer limits of the world, to find Burisma. Remember this? I mean, nobody knew what Burisma was. Burisma, a Ukrainian oil and gas company. Rudy went over there and did business with dirty, dirty oligarchs in Ukraine, okay? This is what the perfect phone call #1 was about. The Ukrainian, well, I want you to get me dirt on Joe Biden. I need dirt on Hunter Biden, right? And I'm going to hold up your defense package until you give me some dirt. I mean, this is what they do. It's who they are. And you know what's really creepy? They got America believing that Democrats do this and that all of politics is this illegal and this dirty. That's what the drain the swamp thing is. But they are the swamp. They created the swamp. They're willing to risk their freedom, their liberty, because they feel like they're above the law and they can break the law over and over again and play these games, play this play over and over and over and over. This play is from the 80s. This play is a 40-year-old, 50-year-old play, and they're still playing it, and people still don't recognize the play. They actually named it the Green Bay Sweep, okay? They named it as if it were a football play. They literally did. These are some unbelievably easy to tally plays, okay? These are things that they replay over and over and over and over in every single cycle. And the only reason why we were spared knowing any of this, the inside story about what happened in the New York field office of the FBI, is because Trump won in 2016. That's the only reason we're only getting the story now, all these many years later, because Trump is not in charge of the Justice Department anymore. Merrick Garland is. And, you got a guy who is like, wherever the facts take me, that's where we go. Right? And I mean, it's so unbelievable how there's nothing new under the sun. And how we figured this out early, real early, because it was the same play over and over and over and over. Teresa in Minnesota.
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
I love your show today. I'm calling about televising the trials.
All of them?
Yes, all of them.
Yeah, I'm for it.
I'm from Minneapolis. We televised the Derek Chauvin trial.
Well, that was a state trial, right?
It was a state trial in Hennepin County District Court.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first trial ever televised in Minnesota.
Oh, nice. And how'd that happen?
Well, I think because the judge assigned to the case advocated for it, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, obviously there was a national interest in everybody hearing the true and real story of what Derek Chauvin and those other cops did that day. Obviously, America had been divided right down the ass crack over, what happened to George Floyd. And obviously, people had had enough of this kind of brutality and wanted to, see for themselves, those who were on the fence, whether or not there were dirty cops like that in beautiful, Minnesota. Right. And so we did get to see it, and it did heal. It did go a long way to heal a lot of the, ruptures that were, in our society. Right. People who didn't want to believe that Derek Chauvin was, almost like a Nazi autocrat in his little, neck of the woods, and that those three guys would stand, like centurions and guard him while he, literally undervalue. He didn't value human life at all, okay, that day. And people didn't want to believe that. Well, it went a long way to showing people that it isn't just a bad apple, okay? It's bad policing and it's bad leadership. Well, in this particular area, I also think that the United States would benefit from seeing, all the evidence against all the, criminals, against all the indicted, against all the felons, so that America can, go down that road and start healing itself.
I agree. And the whole country's interested. Well, the world's interested, and they should see it.
I just don't know, like what the odds are. I just don't know because, federal courts, they don't let cameras in the courtroom. And, the argument that you and me are making is probably the better one. But there is an argument on the other side that says it will turn into a circus, that it will incite people, that, one mistake, that the judge who's going to oversee isn't prepared for this kind of, media, whatever. But I think the best chance we have is, the Georgia state case. Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't know when that case will actually get tried. I know she said March. I know yesterday she was saying she wanted a date in March. Listen, I'll show you the calendar when we come back.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
When are these trials going to happen? That is the question of today and really the next few weeks, and it's so important on so many levels. We do now have 4 indicted cases, and they're all jockeying for very limited position on the calendar. The only way to understand this, I think, is to just see it visually. Now, here. November, of course, is the election. That's a crucial day. Are they going to get these cases tried before then? Let's look at what we have as of this moment. The New York case, the hush money case, is scheduled for trial at the end of March. That will go through April. Then you have Jack Smith's Florida case, the Mar-a-Lago documents case, scheduled to begin in late May. That is going to go through June and into July. Okay, doesn't look so bad so far. But here's what's new. Jack Smith's team has asked for their other case, the January 6th case. They want that to start in the beginning of January. Now, today, Donald Trump's team is going to respond to this. They're going to say, we want it probably somewhere out here, way beyond the election. But if Jack Smith's team gets its way, that trial is going to take 4 months conservatively. Now, we've already got a problem here in March and April. You think that could get worse? Fani Willis, the Fulton County DA in Georgia, now wants her case to start in the beginning of March. Now we've got trials potentially double and triple tracked. And if this is all making your head hurt, here's what I can tell you. Trial dates always move. These dates, I suspect they have to move. This can't all play out. How do I think it's most likely to play out? I think we're most likely to see Jack Smith's case, one or both of them potentially tried before the election. I think the 2 state cases, New York and Georgia, are likely to move out. Alvin Bragg, the New York DA, has already stated publicly that he's willing to consider moving his.
Right. And so the New York one, Alvin Bragg, that has to do with, business fraud. That has to do with the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. So Alvin Bragg would, obviously kick the can down the road and, take a delay in favor of Jack Smith's 2 cases and maybe even, Fani Willis's Georgia case. However, when you hear, what's going to get priority, you can see already that the 2 federal cases, the 2 Jack Smith cases, the one that January 6th case, he wants to begin it on January 2nd of 2024, which is only 4 months from now. And then the documents case, he would like to, see that at the conclusion of the January 6th case. Well, Fani Willis, which is our best bet to respond to our lovely caller from Minnesota, is our best bet to have cameras in a courtroom scenario, would be the state case, the Fani Willis case. Now, Fani Willis said she's aiming for a March start date on her trial, which has 19 defendants. So even the pretrial motions, I just don't see them happening in 6 months, which is, kind of where we are. I know it's a sunny, optimistic, call that she thinks she could be ready to go with 19 defendants in one courtroom. She wants to try everybody all at the same time. This does not intimidate her. This does not frighten her. When she did the, she brought a case against cheating teachers. She charged the Fulton County Department of Education as a corrupt organization under RICO. And there were, 7 or 9 defendants. Somebody in Georgia will know that better than I do. But there were a lot of defendants, a lot of people, and she tried everybody all at the same time and was not any way intimidated or any way blindsided or any way caught off guard or any way, off her game. In a cheating scandal, they were cheating on the standardized tests, to make their their educational value looked better than it was, right? They were increasing the scores. Anyway, this is 19, and these are 19 of the most powerful attorneys in the country. And by powerful, I don't mean smart. I don't mean, I just mean well-connected, okay? Rudy Giuliani is, he has the one trick, as we showed you over and over again, where he uses the awesome office of a prosecutor to go after his political opponents. Well, he did the same thing in 2016 against Hillary Clinton. I mean, he literally did do that. He found the counterintelligence head in the New York field office, and he was willing to, make a deal, and he was willing to give Rudy Giuliani inside information about Anthony Weiner's laptop. He was willing to hold on to it. They were willing to, just spring it on James Comey 11 days before the election to give themselves, a win. They were able to do it. And in this particular case, they're screaming racism. They're screaming that the election was rigged. Rudy does that too. So, obviously you're going up against some, well-connected people who aren't school teachers, and they all have attorneys. They all have legal teams. Now, Rudy needs money. I mean, there's no question about it. And so it is possible, and some people are speculating that it's already happened, that Rudy Giuliani has flipped. Michael Cohen thinks Rudy Giuliani flipped. Michael Cohen also thinks Mark Meadows flipped. Now, what's interesting about Fonnie Willis's indictments is those two men are named as being charged with one count of RICO and some other felonies in Fonnie Willis's case. But they're not named in Jack Smith's case. So what does that tell you about whether or not they're cooperating? Hardly anything, right? Because if they were cooperating with Jack Smith, wouldn't they then cooperate with Fonnie Willis? Well, if Fonnie Willis's case doesn't get tried till after Jack Smith's case get tried, then it doesn't matter. Because if they cooperate with the feds, then they won't be charged by the state. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And like I said, the best bet that we have for cameras in a courtroom would be Fonnie Willis's case, but it's competing against Jack Smith's case for a place on the calendar. And I think, most of us know that if there's a conflict in the calendar in a court, that the lawyers will go and they will, argue for the judge, to the judge that there's a conflict, that, they can't be in two places at once, and that they are, the counsel for Donald Trump, or they're the counsel for Rudy, or they're the counsel for, somebody. And well, it has to be Donald Trump, because in Jack Smith's case, it's only Donald Trump, right? Because Jack Smith kept it nice and streamlined. But John Lauro and that team will go to the judge in Jack Smith's case and say, we can go January. I mean, I don't think they'll ever admit that they could go January 2nd, but let's just say that they did. Then they will say, yeah, but this trial's likely to take, 6 months or 4 months or whatever it is. And we have another case coming up in March. Well, that would kick the other case down the road. So I don't know when we'll get to see Fonnie's case. And that's the case that has, the best possibility of us being able to watch. Unless, I don't know. I mean, to change the federal rules about cameras, it's a heavy lift. It's not as easy as just going to the judge in Hennepin County. So, and I don't know what all's involved. I saw a whole list of things that had to happen, and it did include going to the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. It had to do with going to the judicial, what do they call that commission? The judicial the same one that would have to get involved with Clarence Thomas, right? And it's made up of the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and justices in the federal district courts and appeals courts. And I think you have to get permission from John Roberts before you can do anything. And then I don't know if you have to legislate it or not, but I don't think it's a matter of just going to the judge and saying to the judge, hey, listen, are you open to cameras in the courtroom? And the judge saying, yeah, I am. I don't think it's that simple. I'm not sure, but I don't think it is. But, state cases do get cameras you don't have to go through all that. But I don't know. We'll wait and see. But I can't wait. I mean, honestly, if we could get cameras in any courtroom that has to do with I want to say John Trump because I keep hearing Donald John Trump over and over again. But if we could get a camera in a courtroom where the defendant in any of these four is Donald Trump, the ratings would kill the Super Bowl. Okay, the ratings would surpass the Super Bowl. The ratings would be unbelievable, and America really does need to see. They really do. They need to see it somber. They need to see it serious. They need to see all of the motions that are made to keep something out of evidence, to get something into evidence. They need to see the jury selection. They need to see that everything is fair. They need to see that if things aren't fair, we need to see that too. But I don't know. I honestly do not know. I know I want it. I know America wants it. I know John Lauro, the attorney for Donald Trump, I don't know whether it's a ploy or not because, he knows he's going to be involved in federal court, in federal trials. So I don't know if he thinks it's a slam dunk that it can't happen. So what does he lose by saying he wants transparency? I don't know. I mean, they all play these stupid games with us, right? They're lawyers. It's what they do. But I honestly don't know if we'll ever see any of this on TV. And we all deserve to, every one of us. People who agree that Donald Trump was robbed and people who know for sure that this man is a criminal. Or people that are just right down the middle that say, let me be the 13th juror. It's like two people.